Hey, good evening. Thank you for joining us on the Political Deep Dive tonight. I'm Dave Valente, joined as always by AJ Messi, who has a wonderful message for one of the political parties. And what is the nickname of Tennessee? The volunteer state. That's it. The volunteer
Volunteer
state. She
this.
volunteered some information for the great state of Tennessee, at least one of their political parties. Very nice.
Well,
So, how you doing tonight?
Tennessee. Okay, I'm doing okay. It is Sunday night, so not so bad, not so bad. Hello, Janice.
Hey, Janice, how
Um,
you doing? If it's slow tonight, so tonight we're debuting on TikTok, simulcasting this on this side. Well, my screen over here has the restream, and it's simulcasting onto TikTok, which is on this side. So if it's slow, it's because this is using a lot of resources. So apologize, but we'll have fun. Oh my goodness, Jasper! Jasper is one of my hockey viewers. Thank you for joining us tonight. Good to see you, brother.
Hello.
Stay tuned for some fun politics and pop culture and news and all that fun stuff. Anyway, so you had a fun weekend this weekend?
I've had not a bad weekend at all. My son and I went to a play at the high school, and it was surprisingly really good. Like I have paid
Excellent.
more money for worse plays. So, for anyone that knows about the Percy Jackson novels, it's essentially like, they're the
Oh, I love
children
the
of the
Percy.
gods and what would happen, and that was what we went to, and it was very cool. Um, Hockey and politics.
Excellent.
Oh, you think we
Hockey
could
and
get
politics.
politicians on a hockey rink? Like, I would pay for that. Like, that would be sports that I would watch.
I would I would pay to see politics get beaten up by hockey players. Like
Well,
Matt
okay,
Gates,
so
drag him
most
on
of our
the ice and
politicians are
just
what?
beat fool.
Late 60s or
Yeah.
older?
Well, no,
So,
I
I
mean,
mean,
Matt
just
Gates
getting
is
them out on
young.
the ice. And I mean, they already fall like all the crap all the time. Like every week we have news story of another politician falling and they're in the hospital afterwards or whatever, but they're not going to resign their seat. They're going to hold on to it
Yeah.
forever. It happens every week. I'm not kidding. And as a nurse, I have noticed this. The fall risk among our elected officials is very, very high. If we get them out on an ice rink, then then they would
Yes.
you know,
Absolutely.
they would fall and then we could replace them all, correct?
Well, one of the news stories this week I saw was that Democratic lawmakers are starting to put pressure on Dianne Feinstein, senator from California, who has been in the hospital for a while because she is holding up Senate nominations. She's a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and because she's not been in committee meetings, they have not had the ability to pass Biden's nominees onto the floor of the Senate, the main part of the Senate. So, yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, we definitely do have this kind of geriatric uh, bent to our politics nowadays. I mean, you look, yeah, we just got rid of Nancy Pelosi and gone to Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy's no spring chicken, but compared to Nancy Pelosi, he's
Well,
vibrant
he
and
just had
young.
a fall. He just had a fall.
Well,
Like, I'm not
we could
kidding.
only hope.
I have had I have worked at
Yeah.
nursing homes with with residents in better shape than the majority of the folks that are making the decisions for everybody. Hi, Craig.
What up,
It's
Craig?
just nuts, nuts to me.
Very nice. At least I
Yay.
know the answer is 42.
Always. Hello,
Jack
hello.
Yeah, Jackie Robinson was 42, so that is a good answer. Um,
Don't panic.
no, it's been interesting, the just watching we had Mitch McConnell have the big fall. He was out for a while. McCarthy's fallen, Dianne Feinstein's in the hospital.
Mhm.
This is what happens when you don't have term limits and you're just keep the same person back over and over again. And I think, people say, well, yes, there's term limits and that we can vote somebody out every. First off, we don't have competitive primaries. The seats
No.
are often gerrymandered within an inch of their life and kicked the rest of the way over. Um, they are
That
so by the time the primary rolls around, and if you're a let's say you're a Democrat who wants to run in California for the Senate, you would have to run against that. And Diane, in California, you have the top two general election. So, it's a jungle primary. Whoever, anybody can make it into the primary, and then the top two out of the primary emerge in the general election, which still sucks because you only get two choices out of that general election. Um, but if you are a Democrat who runs against establishment candidate, you're pretty. I mean, unless you win, you're done. Like, you're never going to amount to anything in that party because the party is going to punish you for stepping out against a incumbent. So, yeah, it sucks. The system is totally rigged against change at all, and that's why
the
you see
people.
like plus 90% incumbent winning races
Yes.
in almost
Well,
every
I mean,
election.
in Tennessee, since we have been in the headlines so much, I see people in the comments that are not natives, and they're like, "Come on, Tennessee, why don't y'all vote somebody else in?" And it was like, "All right, motherfuckers, here's here's the truth between the gerrymandering, the very, very tiny Democratic Party, and the
Oh my god, yeah.
ridiculous ballot access laws for anybody that's not a Republican or a Democrat. We don't have people running for these offices against the Republicans. They don't have competition. When you get the ballot, it is the
Yeah.
choice or it is NOTA, which I have voted. And people can say whatever they want to about NOTA. It is my right, if I do not have someone to vote for, to vote NOTA. And if it causes the people that work for the election commission to have to count that vote and, oh, boo-hoo, they're having to do their job, well, then maybe they should put pressure on the parties to give me better candidates to vote for. I will
Yeah.
always have this excuse because it's Tennessee, and people don't understand that. They're like, "Oh, well, they just, we're not all racist, I swear. I swear we're not. We're not all homophobic or transphobic or, xenophobic,
I
misogynist. Like, we're not all that way. We just don't have a whole lot of choices, and no one else has the money that the GOP has. Here, the GOP, they are the ones that have, like, the
no,
$2,000, events where you pay $2,000 to have breakfast with them. That is the GOP here in Tennessee. $2,000.
I mean, outside of buying influence, who would wanna pay 2,000 and I've been to political, functions, political, dinners and things like that. Who would wanna pay $2,000 to eat, powdered eggs and substandard bacon, and like when you can go to your local diner and spend $13 and have a good time and probably talk as much politics with the old guy at the end of the bar than you would at least decent politics with a old guy at the end of the bar than you would with the guy in the suit sitting next to you at the political function.
Well, I imagine the lobbyists have a way to pay that $2,000 and go in there
Oh
and
yeah.
spout off their thing, and this is how it's gonna benefit you. Not only are we going to pay $2,000 for this and every single event you have after this, we're gonna put a little something, something towards your reelection campaign, or we're gonna make sure that your
Oh yeah.
mistress's
It's certainly
apartment's rent is paid or whatever the crap it is. I'm really hoping
Oh,
that Tennessee
you
DOP
wrote
gets
a book.
investigated and they find them all.
Yeah, my favorite is, "Oh, you wrote a book? We'll buy 18,000 copies of your book that no
Yes.
one in their right mind would ever read." Have you ever read a
Mhm.
politician's book? I mean, first off, it's generally not
Mhm.
written by the politician, it's written by some
No.
ghostwriter. some 26-year-old that just got out of a master's degree and in English and is trying to make their way, and that's pretty much it. So um, yeah, it's sad. All right, you ready for
It
the quiz?
Oh, yes. Oh gosh. I feel like extra pressure with just me and you. Is that weird?
It is extra pressure, but
But
you
it
know
does
what?
say April
There is no
20.
punishment for failing. Yeah, 420, baby. Spark it,
Yeah.
bro.
Will we have a good question about
Nice.
420? Oh, I know what that's about.
I don't know. We got so context clues. We got vaccine of some sort. We got make them pay. I can't remember what that one was. And then probably Elon Musk's big rocket boom boom. So all
Okay.
right,
Oops.
let's get to it.
All right. Sorry, I got off on a rant, didn't I?
Question num No, you're good. Hey, it's all good. It's a free for all tonight. Question number one: the most powerful rocket ever built was launched this week, but its flight ended dramatic mid-air explosion. What was the rocket's name? Oh, I don't remember. I'm gonna say Falcon.
See, okay, I was leaning towards that because it sounds more egotistical, and it's Elon Musk we're talking about.
Well, my dick is not an option, so
Okay, so Falcon
I'm thinking Falcon. At least I think that's what they named some other of his ships. Well, anybody have any clue out there in TV land?
in TV Land. That would be nice. I love TV Land growing up. I was a sick kid, man. I was
All
always
right.
home watching TV Land.
Yeah, let's do Falcon. Jesper
Okay,
says Falcon. Oh, Starship.
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 Well, that's
No, that
stupid.
belongs to, yeah, I mean,
Oh,
that's
but he does have a
Jefferson
kid that has
Airplane.
like a number in their name or something stupid too.
Yeah, he's not good at naming crap.
Oh no.
Starship.
Oh, this is not looking
Is it,
good.
like, written in is it, like, painted white with the black starship written across the side of it? I mean, like, kinda generic. I mean, that really is a generic
That
name
is so
when you think
generic.
about it,
That's why I
Starship.
didn't go with that. I was like, no, that's stupid.
And it didn't get anywhere near the stars. Like, it blowed up.
SpaceX
Oh, well.
Starship.
Off Off to a rousing start so far.
Yes,
All right, question number 2. Several powerful tornadoes struck the US this week, leaving thousands without power and some trapped inside shelters. Which state appeared to be the hardest hit? Oklahoma, Texas, Illinois, or Nebraska?
I feel like it was Oklahoma this week.
Yeah, I mean, I think technically it is almost always Oklahoma when it comes to
Unless it's
tornadoes.
Tennessee.
I mean, Tennessee and Alabama have had some stem winders, but Oklahoma is kind of like, yeah, we'll go with Oklahoma. Yes. Storms are reported across Oklahoma, Kansas, and Iowa, with the most damage reported in Oklahoma, according to officials. At least 4 confirmed tornadoes moved across the state and knocked out power for about 20,000 homes and businesses. My goodness. All
Yay.
right. Yes.
All
Way
right,
to go,
Jasper's in
Jasper.
charge of answering questions.
All right. Question number 3. How many potential UFO cases is the US government currently tracking? 5, 60, 205, or 650?
The US government?
Yeah. I think we learned last week to take the high number, right?
That's what I was about to say. Because of course, I mean, that would be what they're spending resources on, that ma so,
Well, I mean, I'd like to know if somebody wants to come down here and probe me anally, so
it gives me no clues whatsoever.
no, it's a, looks like a jet tracking some kind of UFO. And
Okay.
UFO, of course, does not necessarily mean oh, Craig says 650.
Well, we did do that high number or 60 or 2. The government is weird with paying things.
Yeah, Craig says 650.
Let's go with
I'm thinking 650 because last week we got burned twice on
And
picking the lower
we
number.
picked the lower number because we were being conservative. Shows you how smart that is.
Yeah. Correct. The US government is tracking more than 650
Okay.
potential UFOs. Now remember, UFOs aren't necessarily,
Okay.
s space-based. A lot of times it's experimental stuff or some stuff that gets in the atmosphere that people see and just aren't able to comprehend what it is. I'm sure, honestly, I do think that at some point we've been visited. I just don't know that they probably looked around like, "What a
No.
shithole."
Bruh,
Like,
lock the doors.
spray that with some Raid, all right? Yeah, so, 650 potential UFO cases. Very nice. And I think they kinda slow drip this whole UFO stuff out every once in a while. The news, when stuff starts getting bad, they're like, "Hey, throw a UFO story out there to take their mind off it." And the funny thing is, like, nobody really pays attention to these stories. They're like,
Mm.
650? Okay, yeah, whatever.
I
Did
saw
you
a headline this past week that was something like a UFO spotted in surveillance footage of Ukraine, like somebody's drone or something like that had spotted a UFO, and I was like, "Well, I imagine that happens
it's
all
probably
the
not
time.
a drone.
It's a war zone. There's all kinds of unidentified crap everywhere, right?" Um,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm thinking it was probably another drone.
Yeah, right.
It's really cool what they do with drones nowadays. Like, I saw this thing, there's a place out in the northwest part of Saudi Arabia, kind of it's really like a, tourism history type thing, the old Nabatean settlement of Al Ula, and so, like, they've got the big carved rocks with the very ornate structures, they're all funerary sites, and, um, so every winter they do this festival called the Winter at Al Ula Festival, and over by one of the famous funerary sites, they've got this, like, drone thing where they go up in the sky and they make all these shapes and really cool stuff at night. It's really cool. I'd love to see it.
That sounds amazing.
Um, I mean, I'm not always a big fan of the Saudi government, but I still want to see Al Ula. I think that is amazing, amazing place.
That sounds amazing.
Let's see. Quote: CDC updated its recommendations on COVID-19 vaccines to allow another booster dose for people in which age group? 1 to 5, 30 to 45, 10 to 21, or 65 plus.
65 plus.
I would be inclined to agree.
Most vaccines are
Yeah,
recommended for 65 plus, so it's not that big of a
either
stretch.
65 plus or 1 to 5. But they've been far more focused on the older population because,
Yeah.
and Jesper agrees with us. Right on. Right on. Janice too.
Yay.
All right, we got some agreement here. We'll go with 65 plus. If we're wrong, we'll blame you both.
Ha ha ha.
Ha ha ha. You're lucky this time. People 65 or older, or those who have weakened immune systems, like me, want the option of added protection, are now allowed another booster dose. Hit that vein, baby. Hit that vein. Sorry.
No boosters.
All righty. Question number 5. Which social media platform said users can now apply to receive a share of
Oh,
$725
this is
million settlement? Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or TikTok?
but look.
Is it Facebook?
Yes.
Have you applied?
I'm going to. Charlie did. I
I
had to
gotta
leave that
apply.
shit. It was traumatizing me so bad. Heck yeah, I'm signing up.
Hey, yeah, I mean, of course, everyone's gonna sign up on it.
If it's gonna be like
Uh,
I don't a cup of coffee, I don't give a
well,
shit.
725
It's a cup of coffee
well,
on Zuckerberg.
725,000,000.
Oh, I don't know.
725,000,000. I mean, let's say everybody in America is on Facebook, everyone in America signs up as, like, $2 a person, minus legal fees. So it's probably you'll probably end up with a 65-cent check.
Okay.
But, hey, I'll take Zuck's money. He owes me for all the viciousness
Pain and suffering.
in putting my old account in jail for Jeffrey Dahmer memes.
Mhm.
That that's that shook me.
So,
I was
Facebook.
shooketh.
Facebook is an issue. Yes, Facebook is an
It's
issue. Do you want a funny story real quick?
Yeah, do it.
Alright, so, I was talking to my primary care because 'cause I'm 40, and that's what people do is they talk to their primary care, and they have in-depth questionnaires that talk about, smoking and drinking and sex and all of that, right? And whether or not you
Yeah.
eat lean meats, and so it was like, "No smoking, no drinking, no
I'm old, I'm
sex,
not
no
having
meat."
fun.
And she was like, "Anything else?" And I was like, "I quit Facebook," and she goes, "There should definitely be a Facebook question on this because that's a
Are
pretty
you
good
on
thing."
social media?
So,
How often do you doom scroll social media?
yeah. I have Instagram, and that one
I've got it all.
I know you are wildly available.
I am wildly available.
Um,
Yeah. In fact, I'm on the tick of talk. Hi, TikTok. If you're on TikTok,
hi.
give us tap the screen, give us some likes and shares and stuff, and
I do not
let
have
people know that
TikTok.
you're watching. And yeah, TikTok. I'm now. I guess I'm a registered Chinese agent, at least according to some folks in the U.S. Capitol and probably the capital of my state and all that fun stuff.
You have, like, the really cool, like, Bond gadgets?
No,
Fucking lame, what the fuck?
I know. I mean, like my Bond gadget is, hey man, pull my finger.
I don't remember that in any of the movies.
It's deadly. It's nerve gas. All right, question number 6. Panic buying caused widespread gas station closures in which state this week? Florida, Hawaii, Washington, or Idaho?
I feel like it would be Florida with the flooding. Am I wrong?
Uh, yeah, I think Florida, because Ron DeSantis is having a bad week, and I think that was one of the issues that he was facing
Oh,
was, he's been campaigning while his state is suffering.
bless it.
So,
He's had a rough week.
oh, hold his hand.
Oh,
All
might
right,
catch something.
no, no,
Don't know where it's been.
might catch you stupid. Might catch you stupid. Yes, more than half of the gas stations in Miami, Fort Lauderdale area were without gasoline on Wednesday after flooding from last week's massive storm caused a wave of panic buying from drivers topping off their tanks.
Hmm, my gosh. With the worst hockey team.
That's right.
Do they have a hockey team?
I mean, they're both in the playoffs. The Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers. Though the Florida is about to get knocked out. My guess is next game, back up in Boston. But um, I still have hope for Tampa to screw with the Toronto Maple Leafs because I hate the Maple
Does
Leafs so
everybody have a
much.
hockey team?
No, there's one in Nashville.
I know. I find that also odd. I found it odd when they moved here. They were the Oilers, I
Yeah,
remember. Um,
it's a fun uh, team. I like the Nashville Predators. Um, I like that when they score a goal in the playoffs, they throw a catfish on the ice.
yeah, I didn't know that was a thing, and my friend Stephanie was like, "You know what? We're single. We should go to a bar and watch the playoffs in hockey." And I'm like, "Okay." And I ended up using the men's room. I remember that because the line for the women's room was awful. But they threw a catfish, and I was like, "This is hockey, right? Like, what's with the fish?" Super
All right,
gross.
so the reason why people throw things at hockey games, it started with the Detroit Red Wings. They had so back in the day, you took 8 wins to win the Stanley Cup. So they started throwing octopuses or octopi because they have 8 legs to symbolize the 8 wins you need. Don't ask me why. Eight. They could have found any. They could
Yeah,
have thrown 2 cats in the ass. I don't
we don't
know.
have those, but
Yeah,
we have
so
catfish.
they throw catfish. In Florida, they throw plastic rats. They eat. I think a couple times they've thrown a dead
I'm
rat,
so
but
annoyed that they don't throw a gator. Sorry.
Yeah, Tampa throws a gator on the ice, takes out a
See, this is
linesman.
how you get me involved in sports.
Yes, I am a Buffalo fan, and, that's why I drink.
It's been the best
Alright,
present.
question number 7. Which small intruder crawled through the fence of the at the White House this week, prompting a swift response from U.S. Secret Service?
So,
A snake, a dog, a cat, or a toddler?
I'm a toddler.
Was it a
Yes,
toddler?
it happens all the time, apparently. They're like, "Yeah, this is like a thing." I swear.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it wouldn't be hard to get through that
'Cause
through the fence
they're
if you're a toddler.
teeny weeny little people. Yeah.
I'm just surprised that nobody just because I was in DC when the lady rammed the gate, and all of a sudden the Secret Service and the park police just started firing wildly all over Washington DC after this woman. Like, I'm amazed that no one got killed in that whole incident. But I mean, they were just, the woman took off and they're just firing behind her, and this is like the middle of summer, and there are people all over DC.
Mm.
I had no idea how they didn't hit anybody, but yeah, I'm surprised they haven't shot a toddler trying to get into the White House.
Well, apparently it happens pretty often.
All right, well, let's
And
do
no, I've met
toddler.
toddlers.
Yes.
They're sneaky.
Yeah, they lifted him up. Did they put him in cuffs?
No. The picture that I saw, he was carrying, like the hip carry that you do for little people. But no,
Nice.
my boys were called the ninjas for a couple of years because they were sneaky and they would get gone quickly. They were the ninjas.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, so I work in DC. I go down by the White House all the time when I'm in DC, and what they've done there, like, when I first went to DC back in 1992, there you could actually drive down Pennsylvania Avenue right in front of the White House. Just driving car, no questions asked. In fact, that was the first time I ever saw the White House. Was my friend's grandmother was driving us down Pennsylvania Avenue out in front of the White House. They have all the protests there every day and everything, but, um, uh, it was an interesting it was interesting because you had the Farragut Park, or I'm sorry, Lafayette Park across the street, and there's, like, protests there. Um, then they had the 2 incidents in the '90s where the guy took the AK-47, was firing at the White House, before getting taken down, and then the guy that flew the plane, the ultralight plane, and hit the White House, and it just bounces off, like,
Yeah.
It's kinda like the first attempt at 9/11 was, an ultralight plane just bounced off the White House. There was really literally no damage on the White House. The guy who shot the AK-47 at the White House did more damage than the ultralight plane. Um,
Well,
but, over time, they've just made it a fortress, and they put they've had a fence in the front of the White House for a while. They've extended it up several times, and then now it's like if there's anybody in town, like, you can't get into
mm,
Farragut Park. Towards the end of, Trump's time in the White House, he actually had that entire thing chain linked off
mhm.
because the whole Black Lives Matter protests and everything, like, there you couldn't get into Lafayette Park. It looked like a war zone, and, it was sad to see, uh, the access to the people's house just being restricted, because people have bad egos.
Yeah.
So,
And
all right. So yes, question number 8. Which news organization this week agreed to pay the largest publicly known defamation settlement in U.S. history? We'll talk about this one in a little bit. Faux News, Newsmax, Breitbart, or the Daily Caller?
phonos.
It is Faux News.
Pseudo news.
Faux News will pay more than 787 million, which is very close to what I guess Zuckerberg's paying in his Facebook thing.
Interesting.
When yeah, I think it's only a few $1 million off. To Dominion Voting Systems after the two sides agreed on a last minute settlement Tuesday in the explosive defamation case brought against the right wing network. They acknowledged that some of their stories were false, but it did. it was less than what a lot of people wanted.
They are
I
not
myself wanted it.
reporting this at all.
No,
They are not saying shit about this at all.
no.
So if the viewers only watch Fox News, they don't know anything about this at all. It's crazy to me.
Well, and remember, like, I think Fox News now is kind of in a weird position. I think in a few years, they're gonna be like CNN in that they're a behemoth of news industry, but their primary audience really doesn't trust them anymore, and of course, the left side doesn't trust Fox News at all. So they're gonna
Mhm.
see their numbers dwindle to and lose viewers to places like Newsmax or OANN, which are awful, just like CNN lost viewers to MSNBC.
Mhm.
And it's really just kind of a bridging or not, it's widening of the gap of, you know, political news because you're going to have people who only watch MSNBC or, maybe another left wing news outlet versus people who are only watching Newsmax and OANN and CNN and Fox News are going to be, which is going to be funny to watch this because Fox News is going to be kind of forced to the middle again because they've got these two news organizations flanking them on the right that they're going to suffer because they are just not. Either they're gonna get crazy, but they've already had their, nose swatted with a newspaper over Dominion resource or Dominion voting systems, or they're gonna, reel themselves in and suffer the consequences of it. So, oh, yeah,
Oh,
it
comeuppance
couldn't
is kind of nice to watch.
yeah, I mean, it couldn't happen to nicer folks.
Love it, love it, love it. I mean, popcorn, you know.
Question number 9, about 1 in 4 people in the US live with air pollution that can hurt their health, according to a new report. Which region has the most ozone polluted cities? Northern US, Eastern US, Southern US, or Western US? I'm
I
gonna need
feel
some
like
help on
it's
this
gonna
one.
be Southern.
I'm actually thinking it's gonna be Western. Because I know growing up out west in Albuquerque, on bad pollution days, you could actually they called it the brown cloud. Like, there was just
Mm,
as you're driving into
there's
the city,
that.
you could see a cloud of whatever hanging over the city. I
Well, there
know,
is that.
but,
Mhm.
uh, Janice, I need you to watch the news for me. Alright.
Um, go with yours because I've never seen clouds like that. I just know a lot of people with asthma. So,
Well, it's easier to see out west because the lack of humidity and lack of it
oh,
things like that. So it may just be Southern US. I don't know.
you're
We'll
just
try
teaching me
Western.
all kinds of crap tonight.
We're just, we'll hit the Western US, see what happens. Oh, winner,
Hey!
chicken dinner. Yeah, so residents of Western cities are disproportionately affected, according to a new report from American Lung Association. California has 10 of the 25 most ozone polluted cities, which, yeah, I mean that would count with, yeah, California really throws it out for the West Side. New York City, Chicago,
Sorry.
Hartford, Connecticut are only 3 on the list east of the Mississippi River. So, the South really isn't
Mm,
too impacted by it. And one thing I will say, like,
not that kind.
Living in Atlanta, I've never seen a city with more trees, and I think that helps.
Mm, there's
Um,
that.
I think southern cities are like going out to Charleston, some of the suburbs of Charleston, like they have these massive outdoor mall areas in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, and you would never know that they were there. Like, there are trees there. All of a sudden, you'll see, like, a sign saying, "There's Bed Bath& and Beyond," who filed for bankruptcy today, Talbots and all these other retailers, and you're like, "Huh, I would never have known it was there." In fact, I stayed at a hotel, and it took me, like, 3 days before I realized there was a Target beyond the tree line behind my hotel.
Well,
Yeah.
I should have thought of that. I live in, the nursery capital of the world there for a minute. I don't know if it still is or not. We do have the whole like high allergy and asthma thing, but I think it may be just related to that and
Pollen.
like the pesticides probably,
Pollen
not
is
air
awful
pollution so much.
in the South. I mean, there were days in Atlanta where I would walk out and you could chew the air.
Oh
That's
yeah.
how bad the pollen is in Atlanta. Like,
Oh
there were
yeah.
days that just I mean, you walk out and your lungs would just start burning immediately, and I wasn't really, like, big on allergies in Atlanta. I guess I was acclimated to whatever Atlanta had, but I mean, you could feel it in your lungs. You're like your lungs are going, "Yeah, this isn't cool, man. Go back in the building. It's got air conditioning."
We were all there when the Bradford pear trees were blooming, and we were all like, it was awful.
Bradford pears, yeah. Alright, which fast food chain is upgrading its signature burgers? Wendy's, McDonald's, Burger King, or Carl's Jr.? Who has
I don't
signature
eat meat.
burgers? Anybody in the anyone? Bueller? Anyone?
Trying to I'm
Anyone?
trying to look at the picture, but I'm not getting a whole lot there.
I mean, I see red, so that might be McDonald's.
Wendy's also has red. She's redheaded.
Oh, yeah.
And Hardee's also has red, so, hmm,
Hardee's is more orange, isn't it? Or is it
I
red?
don't know.
Well, Carl's Jr. has it's more of the gold star.
Oh, that is
Gold
right. Hardee's
star.
does have that. Sorry, we call it Hardee's here.
Yeah. Carl's
Yeah.
Jr. is West Side.
Alright, so you're just gonna have to decide because I have no idea and I don't eat meat, so I can't do this one.
Janice,
I don't care.
I'm gonna need you to
Up
start
to you.
eating worse. No, I'm just
We
kidding.
don't
Don't
care.
worry.
Okay,
I don't really
so
eat any of these either, so I'm gonna
would
go
it
with
be Burger
McDonald's.
King? Okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna go McDonald's. Burger King, yeah, they're more yellow than red.
I have no
Wendy's or
idea. Ours
McDonald's.
sucks.
Who has signature burgers? I wouldn't call anything that McDonald's does signature.
Would it be
Alright.
Carl's Jr. because that sounds like or Wendy's because that's I don't know.
Yeah, we'll try Wendy's.
You're really overthinking this one.
Ugh, it's McDonald's. Damn it.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, no, that's fine. I really had no clue. Should have taken the fry box, though.
8 out of 10.
8 out of 10, not bad.
I'm okay that we missed the fast food question. Like
Yeah, we
that
missed
I
the
think that
first
speaks to
one
our
and the last
character.
one. Yeah, first one and last one. Everything else in the middle is really good. Uh, we'll be alright. Alright, so let me close out of this. Alrighty. I'll put the chat overlay up here. There we go. All right. So this week, let's talk about what's going on in the state of Montana this week. Legislator is it Zoe Zephyr? I think is her name.
That's yeah.
She is a trans representative in Montana, which quite honestly I was shocked that they have a trans representative in Montana. I'm sure some of the college cities are a little more cool about things like that. So maybe, from Missoula or Helena or something like that. Um, but she went on the floor of the House and railed against an anti-transgender care bill. I think this one was a youth treatment bill. Um, and said that, next time you're in the chamber and you're bowing your heads to pray, I hope you see blood on your hands. Um, which incensed some members. They requested her censure, but that hasn't gone through. The next day, there was more debate on other trans legislation. They asked her, yes, Dame Edna passed away this week.
Yes.
That was sad. Um, but yeah, she tried to speak on the bill. She put her light on, which signifies that you want to speak on a bill. And the Speaker of the House refused to recognize her. Speaker of the House Regier refused to recognize her. Said, and when he refused to recognize her, the Democratic leader of the House said, "Hey, why did you pass over Representative Zephyr?" And he said, "I have a duty to protect the integrity of the House."
Mm.
Um, and decorum. And if I don't think that a member is going to do that, then I'm not going to recognize them. So apparently, he's not going to recognize this representative for the balance of the term. Um, Not just this bill, not just trans issues, but everything. So
until she
effectively, he's
apologizes.
yeah, until she apologizes.
That's what
Um,
happened.
and yeah, it's not happening. She really said nothing really untoward. Um, and yeah, if they had a problem, they did have remedies to be able to deal with that, like censure.
Mhm.
If she actually really did say something that was out of bounds. Um, I think her crime was saying something that made them uncomfortable about themselves, a universal truth that made them uncomfortable. And I think it's unconscionable that they have denied her voice, and they've denied her constituents a voice on the
Mhm.
floor of the Montana House. I think it's absolutely horrible.
I'm hopeful that her constituents will do what the constituents did here in Tennessee when their representatives were denied their voice, which means those voters, and I know here in Tennessee it was like 78,000 or something for each representative that wasn't able to speak. Don't know what the population is in Montana, but if 100 of them show up and put pressure on the GOP and make videos and put them on places like TikTok and put the pressure on the GOP, they will either have to recognize her or have to start the proceedings to remove her, which will only bring more attention to them and only put more eyes on them. I think that is the only way that we are ever going to get any fair representation, especially for people like Zephyr that are brave enough. They know, I mean, she had to know that she was walking into enemy territory, like flat out going into any representative, any elected position in this country as a trans person. I mean, it's ridiculous. Um, but the only way that she's going to get any fairness out of this is for the eyes of the people to be watching, because the expulsion hearing for Jones and Pearson and Johnson here in Tennessee were the most well balanced session I've ever seen in Tennessee. The Democrats got called on. The majority of the time, they do not ever get called on. So the
Yeah.
GOP just not calling on somebody, this is not new. This is going on everywhere. And especially those mouthy Democrats that are standing up for human rights and speaking logic and shit. Like they are getting shut down. I think the best thing that all of us can do is when we hear stories like this to tune in.
Yeah. And I mean, look, we saw what happened. The people put pressure on the GOP in Tennessee, and they still did what they did. Um,
Yeah.
I think if and in Montana, I just did the math. There's 100 reps, and there's 1,000,000 people, and so 100,000 people in each district. So you're talking a larger representative base in each district in Montana than there are in
Mm.
Tennessee.
Think if 10% showed up.
Yeah,
Think if 10% showed
I
up on
mean,
the Capitol.
you
How
know,
amazing that would be.
1,000 people showing up, standing at
I
the
mean, I'm not kidding, like, share all of these things on TikTok because the younger generation are the ones that are going to make change happen. I mean, the kids are marching on the state in Tennessee, and they've been marching even through, like, testing periods. They've been
the
missing school and doing this anyway, and it's amazing.
the only thing I will say, and it's, it's an excuse when you think about it. Um, she's from Billings, which I think is a pretty good ways away from Helena, the capital. Um,
Mhm.
uh, the distances there in the west are so vast, like, um, yeah, and Tennessee is kind of that way when you think about like Memphis versus Knoxville. It's a long way,
They
but
belong.
um, I don't know how many Tennessees you could fit in Montana.
No
I
idea.
mean, it's a big state. Let's see, Billings to Helena.
I just don't know that people realize that they can
241 miles,
241 miles. Yeah,
3 and a half 3, almost 4 hours.
that's a trek. They had people busing in to Nashville from Memphis and Knoxville, because I mean, I have done the drive across Tennessee. I had
Mhm.
not done that until 2020. Oddly enough, the year that everybody else was locked down, I was seeing more of my state than I had ever seen. But it is a long state. Oh my gosh, because I'm in Middle Tennessee, 6 hours in either direction, and I'm still in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Like,
So
that's how big it is.
and going to your state capital is great, putting direct pressure on all the representatives while they're there. What also can help is if your representative is one of these that supports the speaker's move, to put pressure on them when they come back home. I mean,
Mhm.
to, uh, visit their place of business, boycott their place of business, things like that will send a message, a more direct message than, firing off an email. Because a lot of people are just used to sending an email to get stuff done, and lots of that stuff is filtered out by robots to go to the round file. Like, they'll take data off of it, like, "Okay, this person's against you on this one, and this person's for you on this one," and kinda give them stats that way, but really the representative is not going to be reading your email. It's just it's impossible. I've seen congressional emails, state house and state rep mailbags every day, and it's intense how much, mail they get, so just expecting them to respond to everything is hard, but when they come back in district, confront them, talk to them, say, "Hey, why did you, uphold, uh, taking away the voice of, over 100,000 Montanans?"
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. But, let's see, Jennifer asked if, um, what our
He has
thoughts on the abortion bill. So, um, yeah, so one of the big news stories this week is that the Supreme Court, put a stay on the enforcement of the Texas judge's ruling on mifepristone? I can't remember how to pronounce it.
I think that's how you say it. I was practicing before we
Yeah, I'm
went
like,
on
it's
too.
one of them science words. I ain't science fancy.
I'm
Uh,
not an OBGYN, so I haven't had a lot of practice with that particular medication.
yeah. So mifepristone
Um,
is it's the morning after pill? Is that the morning after pill version?
um, I don't know that it's necessarily the morning. I think it's specifically like when you're further along. And I also know it's also used to treat miscarriages to help you
That's
pass the
correct.
tissue
Yep.
easier.
Yeah.
Um, okay. My stance on any abortion bills ever is there shouldn't be. Like, ever. I think it should be between doctors and patients, and I don't care what the reasonings are. I don't like the statistics that are being thrown out that abortions are being used for birth control and whatnot. I'm sure that, yeah, there are cases of that happening, but most of the bills that are being passed in this country concerning whether it's medications or the actual procedures, are also including things like they're not including things necessarily that are off abortion uses.
Mhm.
Women are going to suffer because they're not going to be able to have the drug that works. If you have ever had a miscarriage, you know how scary it is. And there is always the chance with a miscarriage that you do not pass all of the tissue, and that can set up for a septic uterus, and that spreads within hours. And people will lose their ability to have children. They may even lose their lives. I mean, that's just the way of it. When it comes to medical procedures in general, as a nurse, I think the government should never be involved, absolutely ever.
Yeah. And, I get the argument about, it's a life and all that stuff. To me, until it goes down the slide and is out, it really the bodily autonomy of the person in question is the one where we need to fall when it comes to just medical decisions. It needs to be between the patient and the practitioner, and not some old fogey that's sitting, as we mentioned earlier, the geriatric class that rules us, also largely male. Um, and Yeah, it's frustrating to watch all of this go down, and the way our current political system is. It feels like we're, being governed by revenge. Like, the Republicans want to take it out on people, and Democrats want to do, whatever they want to do to people, um, and make people live under their rules. And I know we're more of the idea that more government generally sucks. Um,
Generally, yeah. I think the part that's scary is they're going after providers for giving this care. And at least in Tennessee, there's no rape or incest exceptions, and the woman has to be damn near on death's door before the doctor can provide a life-saving procedure on a fetus that's not going to survive anyway because the mom is dying. If
yeah.
she dies, the baby dies anyway.
Well, I'm
So,
surprised they haven't started
like,
charging these
how
women with,
stupid is this?
you know,
And that's the
she's dead,
thing.
but we're gonna still charge her for murder.
That's the thing is they're looking at, charging not just the providers, but charging the women that actually have the abortions. Now, who's to say that a miscarriage when you this is gonna cause women to not go to the doctor when they're having a miscarriage because they're gonna be scared that they're gonna be charged with murder.
Yeah.
And there we go. And when okay, not an OB nurse, but I know enough statistics that I know that being a black woman that's pregnant in this country is is much scarier than it is as a white woman. The maternal mortality rate is much worse with the black population. So they also have a higher instances of miscarriages. So if they go to the doctor and they've had a miscarriage, what is that doctor going to be able to discern between? Are they going to have to report them? This means there are going to be more minorities charged under these laws, which means there's going to be less minorities able to vote. I mean, it just you can follow all of this, and we have read these books for years telling us that this is
Overcriminalization,
how
yeah.
you get there. The
Yeah, this
same
is
books that they're banning.
overcriminalization of stuff that, shouldn't be crimes, that shouldn't,
Mhm,
the state should not be involved with, that are disproportionately impacted on minority people of color communities, um, so that by and large they're prevented from voting. Um,
mhm.
I don't know. We definitely need to cull the laws that we have in this land so that we can be free, be freer. It's just the way that things are going right now. I don't see a reduction in the laws that we've got going. We're seeing them just stacked on top of each other.
There's a really good graphic on For All Tennessee of
Mhm.
Justin Cornett. Now, Justin Cornett, see, I'm like 5'4" on a good posture day, right? Justin Cornett's well over 6 foot tall, and
Yeah.
he is standing next to the laws in Tennessee of,
Oh yeah.
stack of books of the laws, and they are taller than him. Like, that's how many laws we have, and that has only grown. Like, my session the House of Rep and Senate, everybody, they just adjourned after only 29 days, and they passed a crap ton more. Like, everything is
Mhm.
going to be illegal, everything's gonna be punishable, everything's gonna be regulated. I like, what is it gonna take for people to be like, "Oh, no, no, no. This is not what we want."
We're gonna get to a point where really the only people left voting is kind of what we had originally in the United States, just landed gentry, white male, because everything else is illegal. Women's health
And
is
this
illegal, trans
Uh-huh.
health is illegal, and they're not even really gonna care about the poor white guy, because they're not gonna have the access to services. So if they get pulled over for DUI or possession of cannabis or whatever, they're still going to go to jail because poor people don't have the money resources to fight this stuff. Um,
Absolutely not.
so it's really just kind of rewiring the country back to the landed gentry that ruled us for 200 years before we started passing out the right
Mm.
to vote. It's really weird to watch.
It is not just weird to watch, it's terrifying in a way because how how much longer is it gonna be safe to be in Tennessee? Is it gonna be safe to be in Florida? Well, I mean, it's not safe to be in Florida. It's not safe to be in Florida. There's actually organizations that have put out warnings for
Yeah,
LGBTQ community members, "Don't come to Florida." I mean, how long is it really gonna take before we're getting marched into camps? Because oddly enough, these states are banning gender affirming care, but conversion therapy is still legal in most of the states that have banned gender affirming care.
which is, I mean, it's a mind fuck like that. My gender,
Terrifying.
yeah, Florida is a death trap. Um, no,
So
it's
much.
the conversion therapy. There's no proven therapeutic benefit to conversion therapy. Like, there's never been a
No.
study that said, "Oh, people have had great outcomes based off of this type of therapy." No, there's no evidence of that. What there is evidence of is that teens who get trans affirming care, gender affirming care, have less suicidal tendencies, ideation, live happier and healthier lives. Are they happy 100%? No, not at all. I mean, it's
Who
still,
is?
yeah, they're trans, and it's still, they're still facing blowback from their community. Their government is coming after them. How I know because you have a trans son,
Yes.
and I've got a trans niece, and it's we know that this is by the grace of God, that my niece is in a fairly decent state. But if you're in a state where the government is actively coming after you, whether they're saying taking away your childhood health care, or even some states that are talking about taking away adult health care,
Mhm.
um, you know, to be targeted by your state just for being who you are, that's absolutely frightening.
It's interesting how they are framing trans people as villains. You mentioned my son, he's a college student. He's on the dean's list. He is such a good college student, in fact, that he is a peer mentor. They pay him to help other people be good at being at college. And he has an art business, which is fairly successful. A lot of his success in his art has been drawing or painting rather people's pets that have passed on. He's giving people closure
Yeah,
for a loss, and he has been painted as a villain. And this will forever drive me insane because I have I'm not scared of trans women in the bathroom beside me. As a woman in Tennessee, it's never been a trans person that has given me any issue. There have been plenty of white men that have fucked me up.
yeah,
But, I sexual harassment, yes. Abuse, yes. Like, this is very common here. I You can be in a room with 10 women in Tennessee, and probably 8 of them have been assaulted in some
yeah,
form or fashion. That is so common, and weirdly enough, not a single assault is carried out by a trans person.
exactly.
I'm just
You know,
saying.
and I know I'm controversial for saying this, but if the legislature's true intent was to protect children, first place I would go after is probably, a ban on attending church until they're
Mhm.
18, or ban on the Boy Scouts, or a ban on, uh, you know, like, why is it that every youth pastor I've ever encountered has a wife that they started dating before she was, like, 16. Like, it just
Mhm.
it's always so creepy when I see youth pastors. Um,
Well, I've had, okay, growing up in Tennessee, let's see, I have had a we're let us pray, and the preacher, well, let me stand up so y'all can see. He wrapped his arm around me, and this area, that is side boob, okay? He knew exactly
oh,
what
yeah.
he was doing. What am I gonna do in a group of that many people? Be like, what? And I tried to move, and no, no, we were gonna be there the entire time. Thankfully, it
Mhm.
wasn't one of those long-winded Southern prayers, but that was side boob. You can't pretend it was anything else. And, that is not uncommon. I've had so many friends and the church camps and stuff. The rules are, you can wear culottes, but not shorts. The weird thing about culottes is most of them are elastic waist, which is a lot easier to pull off than shorts. Didn't think about that until I heard a friend's story from church camp. Because I went to one of those church camps.
Mm,
I wore culottes, and they were elastic waist.
jeez.
I never thought of that. Never
Yeah,
thought of that.
yeah, it's awful. Um,
Yeah.
but see, people, they're making our children out to be monsters, but the monsters are in the legislature too. Tennessee just had a representative resign after an ethics report detailing a few instances of harassment. And what was his name? Do you know?
Scotty Campbell.
Scotty Campbell.
Scotty
Yes.
Campbell, yes. And the
He,
interns that they are discussing, it's 2 different interns, both of them are, like, 19 years old.
he was like,
Yeah.
I didn't think outside conversation would be purview to assault. I'm sorry if you're a boss and you're a representative and you have interns and they're just trying to make their way in the world and you're saying, "Hey, how about a, side action? I can boost your career." I
Mhm.
mean, that's skeezy.
Well, okay, how did he actually say it? I think I Googled it because I wanted it because it's creepy. It is, like, the creepiest thing how
They
he
never
how
are not
he
creepy.
said it. It was something along the lines of, "I had a consensual adult
Adult
conversation."
conversation. Yeah.
All I could think of was Bill Clinton saying, "I did not have sex with that woman," because it's like, that's the weirdest
I
way
did
to
not
say that I'm
sleep
not guilty.
he said, "I
That's
did
the
not
weirdest way to
sleep
say
with
it.
that woman. They were awake
Oh,
the
there
whole
you go.
time." So, I mean, technically, he was right.
See, I'm when you have to explain it that way,
Yeah.
you're automatically guilty, and that's fine. You didn't know because you're too dumb to realize that, which also means you're not fit for office. Thankfully, he resigned, but the GOP was just gonna gloss right over that. They were gonna
Oh, yeah.
ride free. Did you see where Justin Jones and Justin Pearson, 2 separate times, stood up and they were like, "So," if somebody's introducing whatever the crap bill, and they're like, "So are we gonna talk about the member of our body that was resigned out of nowhere? Are we gonna discuss that at all?" I mean, they're calling them out. It's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
I mean, the
Um,
the 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 comeuppance of the representatives in Tennessee has been quite delicious to watch.
it really has been, and I don't think that people realize that across in every state, as far as I know, you can watch the sessions live of your representatives, the Senate and your House, and this is how I know things. Because they will introduce bills. I will look at the bill and see what that is while they're voting. This is how you stay informed, people, not watching the news, not getting the summary in the conservative newspaper or the liberal newspaper or whatever the crap. Watch it yourselves
Yeah.
because, oh my gosh, is it eye-opening. You will
It's
see who gets called on. You will see who is allowed to debate and what people are allowed to say. It is mind-boggling to me that people don't that this isn't a regular thing. Like, I tell people, what's going on in Tennessee, they're like, "Oh, well, I just don't pay attention to the news." I was like, "Girl, I don't watch the news.
yeah.
I watch the sessions."
Every session, in fact, in West Virginia, you can watch it, House and Senate while they're in session. Thankfully, it's only 60 days a year, because I don't think I could do this as a full-time job. I did it more when I was state chair of the Libertarian Party of West Virginia, because my whole thing was trying to figure out if they were gonna try and take away our ballot access every year, which was always a threat. Um, but,
No danger of that in Tennessee.
I watch, yeah, they've already taken that away. I watch the legislature quite frequently, and maybe it's because I'm a political nerd. I think it's fascinating to watch, the debates and everything go down,
Mm,
to see the personalities of your representatives. Um, and when I was a state chair, I would reach out to representatives, and always it was always the minority that's the most responsive and wants to work with you. I had so much fun with some of our Democratic, representatives. I know you saw one of ours, Sean Hornbuckle.
yes.
He's awesome, good guy. He, during a session, donated a kidney to, a loved one, was on back on the floor, like, 2 days later, like, just how do you do that?
I love the ones that are there to actually do
Do
the
stuff.
job.
Yeah,
It is amazing, and it is inspiring, and it is beautiful, and those are usually the ones that don't get called on. Um, but if people would actually watch these sessions and actually do it themselves. But then again, most of us are working
yeah,
while this crap's going on, so we can't. We could go back later and watch it, but people aren't gonna do that. People want live, they want quick, they want
yep,
little snapshots or whatever, and, I mean, that's how they're getting away with all the crap that they're getting away with is because everybody's too busy trying to buy eggs and gas and
yeah,
electricity and, whatever. And no, like retired people, yes, please watch the sessions. I know that you stay informed, Janice. You are absolutely not the person that I'm worried about because I know that you're staying informed.
yeah,
I have family members that I can't convince them that anything's going on at all. It's like,
yeah.
wow, really?
It, f well, I will say, getting involved, staying involved, um, keeping an eye on your representatives. I mean, that really is, as a citizen, should be part of your job. If you want effective legislation, if you want effective, just governance, you've got to stay involved. You got to stay knowledgeable of what's going on in your communities. Um, and even if you can't watch it live, watch it on replay. Um,
Mhm.
And when it comes to, your, state rep, state senator comes into your district after a legislative session or during the legislative session, seek them out. Hopefully, they're holding a town hall of something. I did see a really interesting video that, last week. It's, Representative Jeff Jackson out of North Carolina, young guy who's just been elected. I would say he's probably, 40s, maybe, late 30s, early 40s, and, young guy for the House. And, he was talking about how he goes, "It's interesting, I'm on communities," and he goes, "There's so much duplicitous work in Congress." Like, you'll be in a committee, and if the cameras are on the committee, you'll see everyone on that committee acting a fool, like, just being an idiot, trying to get gotcha questions, trying to do this,
Mhm.
that. Um, he goes, when we have a committee, like a executive session within the committee, or just a committee that the news cameras aren't there that day, like C-SPAN's not filming it or whatever. He goes, those members are calm. They just, to me, when he started talking about this, I was like, this is like working with Karen Ann Harlos with the Libertarian National Committee. Like, if you hung out with Karen Ann Harlos after a session or during, like a working group where there's no cameras or anything involved, she's actually okay. not great, but she's okay. She's actually pretty helpful, but when the camera is turned on, she turns into a dragon
Yeah.
woman, like, just an awful human being, just treating people awful, and then kinda holding yourself out like this Joan of Arc type figure that, for no reason, like, nobody's really was really attacking you until you started being just an absolute shithead to everybody.
Mhm.
But, yeah.
See, people like that are just, ugh, well, that could be a whole other episode on itself. The whole reason I got involved in the Libertarian Party was this crap. I am a mom, and I worry about the world that my kids are growing up in, and I worry
Yeah.
about the how they are going to be treated, and being treated as, a second-class citizen. That was what I wanted to prevent, and I thought the Libertarian Party was the best ticket for that because they had the correct platforms. Once those were removed, it's no longer the same party. It really is just Republicans that smoke weed, and I don't need it. Um, I don't like Republicans. That's the name right there. Like, you know? So, um, I don't know. The Libertarian Party, broke my heart because,
Yeah. I mean, for
wow,
me, I have no idea
so
who I'm gonna
fucking useless. Like,
I mean, I think I know who I'm gonna vote for president when it comes out, but I don't think that they're gonna be in the ballot in my state. I'll probably have to get them on as a write-in candidate, in my state. I'll submit the paperwork for it. Um, but yeah, like, whoever the LP is gonna put up, unless it's Chase, I really don't see much option.
mhm,
Who's the other guy that is semi-decent?
Lars,
Lars. Yeah, Lars Mapstead, semi-decent. I'm okay with that, but I don't the way that the LP is going, I just don't think either one of them is going to get the nomination. Just the way that the LP is kinda circling in on itself and it's driving out the folks that would do the good work. Did
well,
you see that the Libertarian Party only raised $78,000 this last month?
I did not. I don't see libertarian news
Oh, that's
anymore.
right, yeah,
Charlie
you
sees it sometimes.
78,000, which is, like, the worst, one of the worst months ever,
Okay, so
and it was, like,
okay.
mostly, existing donations.
It's conflicting for me because it is very freeing, oddly enough, to be away from libertarian news. It is a certain kind of freedom, but there's also this is so fun to watch this dumpster fire
Do what they did,
'cause it
right,
has
right.
just the flames have just increased and changed, and there's different colors and shit now, like, it's just amazing
Yeah,
how many different directions of fucked up that they have found to go. Like, we didn't even know those roads existed, and look at them
yeah,
paving the path to more fucked upness.
yeah.
Uh,
I mean, there's just all kinds of weird stuff that's coming out of the LP now that, and it's just I thought it was gonna get bad. Like, I'm not none of this is surprising me. The only thing that's surprising me is the speed at which it's happened. Like, I thought it would take about a year before stuff would start getting bad. I mean, it went first off, they drove away all of the people that have the knowledge of how to do things like fundraising, capital giving, things like that, um, and how to run a party, how to do messaging, how to do things like that. They drove them off. They turned over the keys to a bunch of rank amateurs, and they're doing rank amateur things. And even worse, because you've got people who are like our chair, or former, formerly for me, a chair, Angela McCardle, who is spouting things like, "We're winning the war on vaccinations, and we're winning, and we're German new medicine, and things like that." I'm not really excited about Jacob Hornberger or Mike Termott. Um, you know, Hornberger had associations with the Mises Caucus as late as 2020. I think he's still even on their board. Um,
Gross.
and Mike
So,
Tremont's actively been, going after that Mises vote. So yeah. But yeah, let's go to some happy news. So Ron DeSantis, our favorite governor, is having a week. Um,
yay.
yeah, yeah. So Rhonda
I
is
mean, oh,
e uh, so coupled with the
yes.
flood story that we had earlier this week with the gas running out in Miami-Dade County, um, the multiple polls that have come out that said that Donald Trump is swamping Ron DeSantis, in 2024. Rhonda is getting about 34%. Trump is right at 50%. And granted, yeah, not everybody's announced who's going to announce because it's going to be an absolute clown car. Um,
I
but
know.
I no, this is going to be so much fun.
They're making popcorn.
But I think the fact that Trump's hitting at 50%, you're seeing congressmen endorsing Donald Trump already.
Including mine.
Oh, I think mine's
Janice
already.
Bowling.
Yeah, mine probably has already done it because he's been sucking off the Trump teat for a long time. Um,
Marsha Blackburn, too.
ugh.
Crazy bitches.
I don't know if
Oh,
actually I have no idea if Shelley Moore Capito has endorsed Trump or not. Um, she'll probably just wait till um,
yeah.
the nomination's sealed up before she backs a candidate. She's pretty middle of the road for a Republican. She doesn't try and make too many waves. So, um, but yeah, he's been having a week. He's been losing endorsements. He's um, been seen as a weak leader based off of this Florida stuff. The question is, does Ron DeSantis become like Jeb?
You mean a joke?
Popular Florida governor who had a bunch of hype going into the election. Everybody's like, okay, Jeb's going to be the juggernaut. And, the other candidates are going to line up behind Jeb, and Jeb flamed out. Like he really didn't make it much past the New Hampshire primaries. I could see it.
I would love to watch that happen. I would love to watch that happen. Um,
I saw that
because
the story about
that
the
would be
oil truck.
amazing. Okay, also, word clown there's a new Ron DeSantis, website coming out with word clown. I'll have to send it to you because we're such
Nice.
fans of Rhonda.
Rhonda.
Um, Rhonda, um,
Cameron's
but
over him insane. Yes, he is insane.
he is
Well,
insane.
I
He
think
is
he's
he
much.
is actually a Disney villain.
Well,
This is all a thing for Disney.
I think he's much more dangerous than Trump because he has legislative abilities. The problem with Trump is that he would just said awful stuff and he'd use executive orders. And I don't think that's going to go much beyond. I mean, DeSantis will do the same thing. My thinking is that he's if he wins, he's gonna get some. He's probably going to take both houses because they're so close, and he's gonna have the ability to pass nationwide legislation.
I think the Republican Party. Okay, so here's what I'm hoping. I hope they're dumb enough to run Trump or DeSantis, either one, because I think both of them are so, so crazy that it will cause a backlash.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
definitely
because
motivated.
everybody is anti-Republican, and it's like, okay, fine. I'm not, I had somebody call me a Democrat on Instagram the other day, and I was like, no,
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 not Democrat, just anti-Republican. And there is such a thing as anti-Republican. And in fact, it is the Republican Party's fault that I'm even happy with Democrats. It's
yeah,
their fault. They acted so effing nuts that they made the Democrats look good. That's not my fault. They did that themselves, and they are doing that to women, to Black people, to brown people, to gay people, to trans people, to children. And the funny thing about Gen Z is a lot of these kids that are marching on Capitals right now, they're gonna be voting in this next election.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I'm sure there's gonna be another round of, election-related legislation in the next session to prevent as many people from voting as possible. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah,
There were people that actually voted against, notifying, seniors in high school that they could register to vote. Now, when I went, we registered to vote at the school, like, that was a thing. So, it did pass, but there were people that voted against it, and the people that voted against it were Republican. How about that shit?
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, this next election is gonna be very interesting. I mean, there's hardening lines throughout the country, but even, like, look at Tennessee. Would you
Oh,
say
do we
it's
have
probably
to?
like a 60-40 split? Like, there's probably when there's an election, yeah, a statewide election, yeah, Republicans win. What percentage would you say that Republicans win in a statewide election? Let's say
In
both
Tennessee?
yeah, both candidates are semi-competent.
Well, that's never happened.
Okay, well,
I
so
like, it is so rare. We have no, we have so few Democratic candidates that run against Republicans. I'm not kidding when I say
oh, yeah.
people just that people run unopposed. Most of the seats, I think it's like 100 and something seats in Tennessee are unopposed. That Democratic Party, they're ramping up trying to get people to run for these positions. Now, if we actually had some competition, yeah, I would like for it to be 60-40. What I'm afraid that it would be is more like 80-20 because people don't know what's going on and they're not caring enough to pay attention.
Yeah, I mean,
They
it's
think
really
that they're
who's on the
saving
right side.
babies and saving children and saving women
Oh,
in
yeah,
bathrooms,
yeah.
and that's not what's happening.
Who's worse, Trump or Florida governor? So, yeah, I think Trump is worse in the fact of his statements and what he's allowed our political discourse to become in this country, how people have become very comfortable with saying racist things, saying homophobic things, saying awful things to each other. Um, I think DeSantis is worse in the fact that he can push legislation, whereas Trump never really cared to push legislation. He was more concerned about his executive of order ability. Um, uh, governing Trump would do a lot of. I mean, how much money did he spend as president? He spent. I mean, even before the COVID stuff, he was setting records in debt generation because his budgets were so blown out. Um, so yeah, he governed technically almost like an old school Democrat, just spending money on stuff. But with and maybe an old school Democrat in the kind of in the background racist stuff. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would fear a DeSantis presidency worse than a Trump second presidency because I think if Trump, I mean, I fear a Trump second presidency because I think it's just going to really kind of be the death knell of the United States and drive us all out into um, a Sudan like civil war.
Oh, I don't disagree. And, you know that and I've talked about this before, that my family is planning on moving. We do not have a choice in that. Like, that is something that's going to happen. Now, there's lots of pieces that have to fall into place for that to happen, and we're one of the lucky ones. The people that aren't going to be able to leave the state or, whichever state it may be, because there's several right now that are scary as crap. Um, those are the people that I'm so, so worried about 'cause I can't imagine, how bad this is going to get. And yeah, you said Civil War. It's not just the war part that I'm actually what comes first,
Oh,
you know,
I mean,
and what
it's
comes
not gonna be
after and what all of it. I just
I mean,
terrifying.
a civil war now is not like 1864 where, armies line up across each other from the battlefield. It's going to be guerrilla warfare, it's going to be terrorism, it's going to be,
Mhm,
uh, you know, disruptions, power supply disruptions, water
mhm.
disruptions, things like that. I mean, it's gonna be asymmetrical warfare, and it's not gonna be, you know I will tell you, if you are thinking that, let's say the news starts getting worse and worse, and we're starting to get, people out in the streets or whatever, have an exit plan and not just, going to a red state or a blue state that you feel comfortable in. Like, figure out how many hours it takes you to get to Mexico or how many hours it takes to get to Canada. Figure out, do I have the money to get on a plane and go to I don't care where, somewhere in Europe, somewhere in the Caribbean, somewhere
Spain
in
seems nice.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, I've been learning Swedish. I mean, I can go to Sweden. Jag pratar med
Can you
svenska.
imagine what my accent would sound like if I moved to Spain?
I can actually, because my sister had a Spanish teacher in North Carolina, Señora Causey, who said, "Hola, ¿cómo está usted?" The North Carolina accent. So I can imagine a Spanish accent with a Southern twang.
Can't imagine how weird it's gonna get with Colorado. They don't really sound like anybody, so
Colorado's
will I
pretty
just be
muted.
generic?
Yeah, Colorado's pretty muted. It's gonna be you're gonna get a lot of the uh kind of that almost like a surfer, the snow bunnies and the ski boarder guys. They be like, yeah, raw, that kind of thing. You're gonna get a lot of Hispanic there. Colorado wheat green chili is weak. Just remember that.
Say that
Uh,
again?
Colorado's green chili is weak. They say that they got good green chili in Pueblo. The real good green chili is in New Mexico. Just ensure that you get good New Mexico green chili while you're out there. Um,
Okay.
but I love the West. The West is phenomenal. Um,
We'll see how it goes, and
yeah,
stay tuned. I'm sure there'll be a GoFundMe or something along those lines before it's all said and done.
yeah, we'll
Um,
have to drive you out there.
my gosh, so much, so
It's a
much.
long drive. I'll just say that. Do you think
It's
Tennessee's like
16
the
hours
Tennessee
for
roads?
me.
Yeah.
So
You don't
2
like
boys, a
chili,
cat, and a
Janice?
dog.
Oh, Janice, you don't like chili? Oh, I love chili. I'd eat chili. I've had chili and ice cream before.
I like vegetarian chili. It's
Well,
not
I mean,
bad.
New Mexico green chili is vegetarian. It's a vegetable, so
So I can do that. Is it
yeah,
spicy?
it is. It depends. You can have mild. You can have um, dislocating your
Can I
colon
have
to a different county variety.
can I have white people mayonnaise flavored? Because, I mean, honestly, like, it's just, like, pitiful.
I
No tolerance.
you kind of have to. I mean, look. When I first moved to New Mexico, I ate just the basic gringo chili, and
Mhm.
it would dislocate my colon to a different county.
Well, we
Um,
can't do that.
but probably within 3 months, I get a thing of green chili stew, and I just sweat for a couple hours because it was just and it was so good, like, you couldn't stop eating it, but it was like,
Like,
stripping your entire digestive tract,
like,
but then
I'm dying.
eventually
I'm
you kinda
sorry.
Teflon yourself up and you're good. Like, you can eat anything. You're like,
I don't know how dedicated I am to
I
the cause.
I could go to the surface of the sun, scoop up some plasma, throw it down my mouth, and I'd be okay.
Plasma,
Yeah.
like a vampire.
Yeah, probably. Just not like a Twilight vampire, I don't sparkle.
Sorry, I'm having, like, Buffy the Vampire Slayer flashbacks from the '90s. The Luke
Oh,
Perry movie, not the TV show,
okay.
for anybody that cares.
Chili rellenos amazing. So anything that you can deep fry and stuff with cheese, that's the best right there. Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Definitely have chili rellenos when you go there.
So free for all, off the rails. Da da da
Yes, free for all
da.
did go off the rails, but it's a free for all. That's how we do this thing. But we're at 11:30. I did want to talk about the Sudan civil war. I do feel like so all the diplomats are being evacuated and citizens are being evacuated out of Khartoum, capital of Sudan. Um, this is going to get ugly, folks. The Sudan civil war is going to be a very ugly civil war. Um, yeah, I think people are still going to focus more on what's going on in Ukraine because that is an actual, between two countries war. But um, Sudan fought a civil war for decades, and it's not going to go well in Sudan. The people there are being abandoned by the international community right now, and uh, unless the leaders of the current military government and the current rebel faction that used to be kind of this extra paramilitary force that they had within their country can come to some kind of an agreement, power sharing agreement, or whatever, it's going to get ugly. It's already ugly. It's just going to get uglier. It's going to be much more of a humanitarian crisis. It's going to be much more Yemen than it is going to be Ukraine. And Yemen was an awful situation. Yemen's getting a little bit better because the Saudis and the Iranians are playing nicer right now, but
Mm.
um, there's still lots of bad stuff going on in Yemen right now. But um, yeah, it's sad to see because the old civil war for Yemen was to, or for Sudan was to pull it apart, whether it was to take Darfur out of the country, which did not happen, or to take the southern part of Sudan out, which did happen. South Sudan is now its own independent country, which has its own problems. It's a whole other ball of wax. But Sudan itself, um, this is for the heart of Sudan to take it over. They had a military coup a few years ago to overthrow their despotic dictator Omar al-Bashir, who's I think he's been turned over to the International Criminal Court. And the current military government has no plans to do democratic elections, and now, of course, with the attacks, there's no plans to go anywhere near democracy in Sudan. So just be prepared for some bad images there. Africa does some really fucked up civil wars. Um, so yeah, there's a book called Me Against My Brother that focuses on three civil wars in Africa that I read in college. That still some of the images that I saw in that book stick with me today. Just disturbing images of how humans can treat one another. So another fun
Wow.
story to end the week on.
We're
Yeah.
all over the place.
Yeah, we are. But thanks for joining us this week. We really appreciate it. And we'll be back next week. It may be another free for all because I really enjoyed this format. So,
It's been fun.
but if not, if we find a good topic for the week, I'll put it out early this week and we'll have a
Or
show
if
on it.
anybody
If you want,
watching has any topics that they want us to talk about,
or if
feel free
anybody
to comment.
watching wants someone to appear on the show, let me know. I would love to do that.
Yes.
Yes, we are
Yes,
doing
we
this
can absolutely.
every Sunday night at 10 p.m. Eastern.
And
It's
let's
either a live show like this, or we're gonna do a best of. So, if we need a couple weeks off, every once in a while, I do need a couple weeks off. But yeah, thanks, Craig. Thanks, Jasper. Thanks, Janice. Thanks. Who else commented tonight? We had a few people comment tonight. And thanks to those on TikTok. I really appreciate it. If you're on TikTok, tap the screen, give us some likes. It just boosts the algorithm. If you are
good.
on uh, YouTube, um,
Like,
Click this
subscribe, ring the
like,
bell.
subscribe, ring that bell, all the fun stuff. Again, it's all about algorithms, and it's all about getting people uh, information and entertainment. So, all right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us this week. We will talk to you all next week.